Spain conquered the Incan Empire in 1533. Many Incan people retreated into the mountains, where their culture, language, and practices remain today. It was a difficult place to live. Rain didn't fall often, so crops were tough to grow, meaning that groups often fought for the best land near rivers and the food supplies. The most important development that was utilized for them back then, and also used to this day in our day-to-day lives, is the method called chuno. The Incans would expose potatoes to freezing nighttime temperatures and then let them thaw under the sun during the day. This freeze-thaw cycle would continue for several days, extracting the moisture and leaving behind dry potatoes that could last for years. This ancient technique allowed the Incans to efficiently store food, ensuring they had substances during times of scarcity. A majority of it is still unexplored. The culture and tradition of the Incan civilization have always been a bit of a mystery. Experts all over the world are still uncovering the strange aspects of this ancient civilization. Here are a couple of traditions that we know of to this date. The Incans were smitten by the beauty of deformed skulls. Whenever a child was born, they would tightly wrap the child's head with bandages, creating pressure points on a different part of the skull. This limited the skull growth in that part of the head. Incas also practiced cannibalism. Thought this was ritualistic. They believed that they will inherit the power of the person by consuming their flesh. One of the biggest traditions is that of the Copachoa. It was a sacrificial ceremony that took place every single year. The Incas selected children from all across the empire and prepared them for this ceremony. These children were sacrificed to the sun god. The children were either killed or buried alive as part of their customs to the sun gods.
The Inca Empire was located on the western coast of South America, touching on parts of Ecuador, Colombia, Argentina, Bolivia, and a big part of Chile. In short, the Inca Empire was situated in what we call today Peru, but more precisely down into the valley of Cusco. After 200 years, the Inca had grown into an empire covering most of the Andes mountain region, with a population of about 16 million people. It can be said that the Incas did not hit the geographical jackpot. Completely disconnected from the eastern hemisphere of the world, they did not build their empire in the same ways as the Eurasians. This makes their civilization that more impressive. They built, grew, and fought alone, thriving in their self-sufficient lifestyle. Despite not having the best geographic location, the Incas had to fish on the coast and hunt in the mountains, and yet they still managed to survive by inventing ways to make the workload much easier. For example, building bridges from mountain to mountain to make it easier and faster to travel. They also invented terrace farming. It was constructed all throughout the empire like giant green staircases. Because they had no leveled field, they had to practice their agriculture on the mountains. It was an interesting concept, including the crops absorbing heat from the sun during the day, and then because of the gravel they added, they would still maintain a good temperature at night when it was cold. A similar group would be the Aztecs, living in what is today Mexico, more precisely Valley of Mexico in the 1400s. Their similarities are accurate because of their intellectual value, agriculture, development. They both worship several gods, and in the end, both of their empires were taken down by Spanish conquistadors.
As said in several articles across the internet, the start date of the Inca Empire is difficult to determine since they didn't have a written source, or proof. As states the British Journal of General Practice, they became a force in the 13th century. However, it was during the 15th century that they undertook one of the most rapid cultural and territorial expansions ever seen. Now, despite having no writing, they were able to conquer other peoples across the Americas. With the use of messengers, known as runners, they were able to relay messages through items. These items were known as quipus, also pronounced quipus. Native to the Incas, this form of communication was transmitted on foot since they didn't have horses and the use of wheels was not yet known in the Americas. Though they did not lack the knowledge of the wheel, it would not have done them any good. Having first been discovered in Mesopotamia, the wheel only made it to the Americas years after the Eastern Hemisphere. The Incas were able to communicate over their 5,000 kilometer territory. Over the 5,000 kilometer territory they were responsible for, with the help of runners and llamas. Despite being a key concept in the European, Asian, and African civilizations, the wheel would not have done the Incas much good. Situated in the very hilly area of the Andes Mountains, wheeled transportation would have been problematic in crossing their rope bridges and various staircases. Humans and llamas, on the other hand, had no trouble. In addition, different from the Eurasians, the Incas didn't have access to animals strong enough to pull any type of wheeled transportation. That is one of the many things that differs the Incas from other civilizations. They thrived despite lacking much of an essential part of the construction, expansion, and conquering of a civilization. This image, also a primary source originating from 2600 BCE, demonstrates an Incan woman, also known as an alca, holding a quipu. This picture also has Incan writing on it. This Incan writing is known as Quechua, though the pronunciation is probably not right. That is the name. These were a set of strings hung together in a certain way. Now, the collector journal writes, each quipu has a distinctive structure centered around a main cord, which is horizontally positioned and notably thicker than the rest. These devices were used to record mathematical or non-mathematical information based on different characteristics like the length and thickness of the cords, the distance between knots, and simply the overall size of the entire piece. Unfortunately, after the Spanish conquest, Spain introduced their own spoken and written language, therefore the use of quipus was no longer needed. In the end, the Inca were real geniuses when it came to thriving in a civilization with next to no outsider resources. Thanks to them, we were now equipped with the concept of freeze drying, rope bridges, and the brilliant creation of terrace farming.